Most Americans have no idea how many career opportunities already exist. Every week, we uncover free training programs, hidden education funding, and career paths that can help you earn more without taking on unnecessary debt. There is a federal program that has been quietly paying for people's career training for years. Not a small pilot program, not some obscure grant that ran out last spring. A fully funded, still active system that right now has billions of dollars sitting in it, and most of the people who qualify for it have never heard of it. Federal workforce development funding in 2026 totals more than $8 billion. That money is there. The question is whether it gets to you or just sits unspent because nobody told you it existed. The program is called WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And before you click away thinking this is some government paperwork rabbit hole, stay with me because there's one thing about this program that almost nobody talks about, and I'm going to get to it toward the end of this video. It changes who this applies to in a way most people completely assume wrong. Here's what this video is actually about. WIOA is not a scholarship, not a student loan, and not a grant you apply for on some federal website at 2 a.m. It's a federal law designed to help job seekers access employment, education, training, and support services to succeed in the labor market. The money flows through a system of local workforce boards, and those boards are the ones who decide how it gets used in your area. We're going to walk through exactly how this works, what it actually covers, who qualifies, and the single biggest mistake people make when they find out about it. Let's start with the money itself, because the scale of this thing is worth understanding. For fiscal year 2026, WIOA funding remained largely level from the prior year, roughly $2.9 billion for Title I programs alone. Of that, $885.7 million was set aside for adults, $948.1 million for youth, and $1.09 billion for dislocated workers. And here's something that matters for the long-term picture. Congress rejected a proposal that would have consolidated these separate funding streams into a block grant, and the enacted bill maintains program-by-program funding, meaning the existing WIOA structure, with its population-specific allocations and local workforce board system, remains intact for 2026. So the money is there. The structure is there. Now let's talk about how it actually reaches you. The first thing most people get wrong about WIOA is thinking it works like a scholarship. Like you apply, get approved, and receive a check. That's not how it works. Once you've identified a program you want to attend, your case manager creates what's called an individual training account, or ITA, tied to that specific program and provider. The ITA is not a check written to you. It's a funding commitment that pays the provider directly. So the money never passes through your hands. It goes from the workforce board straight to the school or training program. And that process starts not with paperwork, but with a conversation. WIOA participants work closely with a career planner to identify appropriate training options and select appropriate training programs. That career planner sits at something called an American Job Center. And there's likely one near you right now. The process from program selection to program start typically looks like this. You identify your target program from the approved list, your case manager confirms the program has slots available, they create your ITA and issue an authorization letter to the provider, you enroll using that authorization, and the provider invoices the workforce board after you complete training milestones. That's the basic pipeline. But here's where it gets more interesting. And this is the part that trips most people up. Not every school qualifies. WIOA requires states to maintain a list of training providers approved to offer training to individuals eligible to receive WIOA funds. The statewide eligible training provider list, the ETPL, includes eligible training providers and programs approved by both local workforce development areas and the state. So before you get excited about a specific program, you need to check whether it's on your state's ETPL. Not every community college, vocational school, or certification provider is automatically WIOA approved. Providers have to apply, meet state performance standards, and maintain their status. The good news is that checking is easy. Each state manages its own ETPL, and you can find state-specific links through Career One Stop. That's careerownstop.org. a free tool run by the Department of Labor. You search by state, and it shows you every approved program in your area. When you search the ETPL, you can see each program's historical performance, completion rates, employment rates, and median wages earned by graduates. That's actually useful data, not just a list of names. Now here's the thing that makes this system smarter than most people realize. The programs that tend to get funded are tied directly to what local employers actually need. Training programs must meet state and local requirements of in-demand industry sectors and occupations, and result in a recognized credential. So the workforce board in your area has looked at the local job market, identified what's hiring, and approved training programs that lead directly to those jobs. That's not a coincidence. It's the design. YOA only provides funding for training in occupations with good earnings potential and in growing industries in a given service area. Things like auto mechanics, plumbers, nurses, teachers, welders, dental assistants, electricians, computer user support specialists, and truck drivers. The exact list varies by region, but the principle is the same everywhere. Local demand drives local funding. And here's something most people don't realize about what's covered. Training tuition is the obvious one, but it doesn't stop there. Depending on your local board's policies, WIOA can also provide funding for textbooks, tools, supplies, clothing, work uniforms, and certification exam payments. Some local areas go further, offering transportation assistance, childcare support, and help covering licensing fees. The idea is to remove every barrier between you and actually completing the training, not just paying for the classroom time. Now we're getting to the part I mentioned at the beginning, the thing most people assume wrong. A lot of people hear government workforce program and immediately picture unemployment offices and people who just lost their jobs. And yes, WIOA does serve that population. But the program is actually built around 3 separate funding streams: adults, dislocated workers, and youth, each with different eligibility rules. And here's what's really important. Many local areas also serve people who are already employed. If you have a job but need training to move up or change careers, you may still qualify depending on local policies and funding availability. And having a college degree doesn't automatically take you out of the running either. Eligibility is based on multiple factors, and a degree alone doesn't disqualify you. The assumption that this program is only for people without higher education is one of the most common reasons people never even ask. This brings me to the thing I've been building toward this whole video: the single biggest barrier to accessing WIOA. Every dollar invested by the federal government in WIOA generates more than $15 in economic value. The return is there. The funding is there. The approved programs are there. And yet, for most people, none of that matters because they've never heard of the program, or they assumed they wouldn't qualify without ever asking. That's it. That's the biggest obstacle. Not a complicated application, not a long wait list, just not knowing it exists, or talking yourself out of it before you've spoken to a single person. The first step is connecting with your local American Job Center to learn more and ask about services. You don't need to prepare anything special. You don't need to have your whole career figured out. You just need to show up and ask. The career planner there will walk through your situation, look at what's available locally, and tell you whether you're a fit. That conversation is free, and it takes less than an hour. And here's something worth noting for right now specifically. A new expansion called Workforce Pell just took effect July 1st, 2026. It extends federal Pell Grant eligibility to short-term, non-degree training programs at accredited institutions. Eligible programs must be at least 150 clock hours, lead to a recognized credential in an in-demand occupation, and be at a Pell-eligible institution. That's a separate funding source that can stack with or complement WIOA, depending on your situation. More options, not fewer. So here's where we are. WIOA is a federal law that funds local workforce systems. Those systems pay for real career training through approved providers in in-demand fields with support that goes beyond just tuition. It serves adults, dislocated workers, and youth. It serves employed people too. Having a degree doesn't automatically disqualify you, and the funding for 2026 is intact and active. The only thing standing between most people in this program is the assumption that it isn't for them. And the only way to find out if it is to ask. If you found this useful, drop a comment below and tell me what field you're thinking about training in. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video. We put these out every week, and this is exactly the kind of thing we dig into.